Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about how your problems are my problems. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you're at in creation, like your problems are my problems. And so we'll just jump right into it. We'll address like the elephant in the room is always like the ego comes first. Is like, well, how are like my problems your problems? We have different like circumstances and different events, different people. Um, and so like you're absolutely like right on that part. But you have to like see beyond the intimacy of the problem and see in fact that like one, it's a relationship problem. We all carry relationship problems as a category. And then the farther we look into the intimacy of it, what is it? Is it a communication issue? Do we have difficulty sharing with our spouse or our loved one um, our thoughts and our feelings and communicating ourselves? Or is it like um, a patience issue? Do we have like a lack of patience within like ourselves or our spouse and their actions and their deeds or whatever? Or is it like a different category? It can be like professional or working relationships and how we are in our working career and our like ability to show up to work on time or have good work ethic or a high sense of standards and like output like a solid good product. So if we're able to like take back the intimacy of it and say, well, you don't know about my colleague at work who's always like making it more difficult for me to have like a better working experience. Um, well, like that's also like some of like the excusing yourself, like kind of the sympathy to like make rationalize or justify why this other person is preventing you from having a positive or stronger or better work experience. When we have to flip the coin over and say this person is challenging you to rise above this situation and rise over this challenge and have a better working experience. And so as we are able to see these challenges coming up and say, hey, babe, I do have a very difficult time communicating myself and like sharing my thoughts or my emotions or whatever my opinions or standing up for myself and having this forwardness to like break through that insecurity opens the doorway to all of the resolution on the other side. And so we have to look at the coin on the other side and see how is this a challenge for us to rise and grow. And if we look on it as a whole, we all like carry a relationship of some kind. We're all in an intimate relationship with another human being, or we're all in a relationship, a working relationship. We all have family relationships, and all relationships have the same or similar problems. Love, who's giving love, who's getting love, are your feelings or needs being met? Like, is your communication style? Are you listening to them? Are you emotionally open and receptive? And so we have a lot of the same or similar circumstances in which create our problems. It just might be variables inside of the people or like the situation or whatever that fills in the juice of it, but the challenges are still the same. And so as like I see like my problem is communication. And so like it's difficult for me to be able to share my voice and be outspoken and like come out with like my truth and my spirituality or whatever. And then I can see in as a reflection other beings who have the same trait. They have very spiritual experiences, they're very enlightened or awakened, but they're also like reserved or they're shy or like intimidated by like being outspoken with that and like coming out with that power and voicing their viewpoint and their perspective and like their efforts to change the evolution of humanity. And so I can see that like we have a similar problem. And so in order for me to best help you with your problem, I have to first learn and deal with the problem on my end. And so I have to learn to be outspoken and share my spirituality. And I have to learn how to like face all of like the criticism that might come or the reservations, the fear energy that comes with all of that. And then after I go through all of these trials and I like keep rising up and like keep going, and then I'm going to have more understanding for your challenges with the same. And then I'm going to help you and say, hey, this is what I did. Keep going. Like when I was in this situation, this is like what I brought through as the lesson or the understanding or the overcoming the higher side of the coin. And then together we overcome your challenge together. And then you have a same viewpoint on me. It's like, well, okay, well, look, I like what you did there, but this is my perspective on it. So I'm gonna take a little bit of what you did to like mold with, and then I'm gonna put my twist on it, and I'm gonna do it my way. Because ultimately, it is your experience, and has to be done your way. We can just like guide others and say, hey, this is what worked for me. Try it out. I hope it works for you. And like, oh, thanks. Yeah, that did work for me, or this didn't work for me, or like this plus this is what worked best for me. And then we're able to like teach and like lead others in that way. And so as we move forward um, in our growth cycles, we're going to start to see reflections of each other as our awareness blooms. As soon as you know that everybody else is reflecting you through the law of reflection, then you can see things that you like in people, things that you don't like, things that you can see in yourself that are relatable to both of those categories. And then like an ideal is like, hey, I don't like it the way like you talk down to me or disrespect me or do whatever in these situations. Now you have a greater understanding of like being in those situations and how your actions can impact others, and you can talk down to them, or you can belittle them, or you can make them feel less than. And so like learning to overcome yourself and having the challenge or the truth, like the power to like acknowledge your lesson and stand up for yourself and say, hey, I don't like how this makes me feel. And then seeing within yourself how those actions, how you can prevent those actions from yourself in the future so you don't make other people feel the same way. And then you're like learning from the challenge to not pass on the violence. They say like violence begets violence, and that's because you're mean to me and I'm just going to be mean back or to somebody else. And the only way you can stop this chain is to give it positivity. See through the challenges, see through the animosity. There's several of my videos that talk about how all levels of fear, violence, or animosity are just coming from, that are projected, are coming from one's own pain. And so instead of like allowing your ego to get involved and saying like, you're hurting me with your words, you don't look at my side, you don't care about me, but what about me, look empathetically and say, hey, I see you're hurting. I'm like really sorry that you're feeling this way. Like bring yourself to their situation and say like, wow, this really does hurt to like feel this type of pain, and how can I help you? Like I'm here for you. And make it about them. Their pain is coming to you for you to like heal that and liberate that from them. And to make it selfish and say, well, you're not even caring about my pain is like a selfish response to the situation. Heal them first and see how that's challenging you and bringing out your pain. And then have the like power within yourself to come back around after their healing and say, hey, you know, while we were going through that the other day, I felt like I felt like um, this way, and it made me feel like really shitty about myself or like hurting or whatever. So that way you don't take away from their space that we're holding from them and making it about us. But we still have like the power to come back around and say, hey, I need healing too. This still like hurts my feelings. And that's a demonstration of your power to be able to come back to a situation and say, hey, this is what hurt me from this, and this is what like I need some help with on like my healing cycle. And like that's a demonstration of your power to like sit there and let your ego take front and center and say, well, I'm not going to do that. Like you need to think about me first. You're not even taking me into consideration in the situation, and huffing and puffing about like I'm not getting thought of or looked at or whatever. We got to acknowledge that that's our ego self, and that's all very selfish actions. You know, our spouse's loved one, our friend, whoever is coming to us because they need us, and for us to like respond in a very selfish way like really takes away from them. And so as we continue to grow, like I am just like you, so I have to learn my challenges and overcome my challenges in order to like let your challenges be easier. Just because the way I do it, once I break through a challenge that nobody's broken through or in my area has seen, then they're gonna be like, hey, how did you do that? And then I'm gonna be able to lead them. And if oftentimes it's on a conscious level, it's not even on a physically manifested level. Manifested level is where you come to me and say, hey, I like what you're doing, how can I learn this? A conscious level is like you suddenly get an epiphany of a solution. That's your consciousness picking up a more like aligned solution. We're always looking for like the closest thing to perfection. So as we like fly through our conscious field, anything that's like a perfect model comes up. We're gonna see it in our space and we're gonna try to copy it. We're gonna try to like reach for that. And then if we see a better one, we're gonna like, oh, okay, great, this got me here, but like this is a better way. I see all the flaws, I see all the differences. And then you're gonna work for this one, and then you're gonna work for this one. And then you see a bigger image, it'd be way quicker just to see this one and then work towards this one. And so once one person goes through this whole maze and gets to here, then the understanding links up and other people are able to like get into this flow and then just start riding the energy current up. And that's like on a subconscious level. So you very rarely even like come into awareness of this. You just like act differently. You wake up one day and you're in a different mindset or a different like perspective of reality. You shifted. And so by working on our independent challenges, seeing how our environment challenges us, we also see how our challenges are the same as our environment. Overcoming our challenges allows our environment to overcome theirs, because they now have an image to like replicate. They have an image to work with. And then it's a continued growth cycle. We start to see like within the environment, maybe there's more war or chaos. So that we look inside of ourselves. Is there war and chaos and turmoil within? If it's within, that's why we're seeing it without. It's a reflection of ourselves. And oftentimes we can project that through our own fear and our own vocalizing of our fear and saying, hey, this is what makes me afraid. I'm afraid of like the end of the world. I'm afraid of like dying. I'm afraid of whatever. And then accepting your fear and putting it out there is different than projecting it and holding on to it. Holding on to it's going to cultivate like that type of energy. Seeing what your fear is and then letting it go. Acknowledging you can't really do anything about like the end of the world or dying, and not to get so caught up on one point and just keep working on self-growth. See how this challenges you. What do you got to get into acceptance with yourself or God or your higher being, or maybe that's where your fear comes from, is you have to like get into like full acceptance of this, so then you're no longer allowing like the end of times to take away from your experience. You're allowed to like fully experience the whole like whatever coronavirus and not allow like the face mask thing to take you away or make you feel less empowered or to make you feel prison trapped. You use it to still like feel empowered. You're like, okay, well, I'll put on your mask, like I'll do what I gotta do, and then like keep going forward. Don't let that slow you down in your challenges. Work on your breathing, work on your like pranic living, work on elevating your like alkaline levels into like your water levels into a more alkaline environment, so you can set yourself up for a better level of success in fighting off pandemics. And so by doing this yourself, other people are gonna see that and they're gonna be like, whoa, well, I see like you're always like never sick. And then they're gonna like, what do you do? And then they might take something away from that. And then you influence them. But you do it through self first and see through learning from your experience. And so ultimately, here we're gonna close right here. The lesson as a close is reflection. Your problems are my problems. And so I have to be patient with you and see your problems and help you solve your problems. And then take that to myself and help me solve my problems. And keep working on my problems, so that way when we come together, I see your problems. They don't take away from me. They add to me. They maybe highlight my problem or they highlight my growth. So then I can come around more enlightened to you. And then it's just like a growing match, teaching and learning. And so that's what we have today. I hope all of you take time in your experience with your higher awareness to look at your problems, the problems of others that are around you that are highlighted. You see what you're told, you see what you're fed. The universe feeds you experiences to consistently learn from. So you see what like you need to grow the most from, everything on a world micro level. So as we go forward, look for problems within your experiences and within yourself. See the similarities, and then correct them internally, correct them in this environment, in this reality, and then this reality starts to reflect the base reality. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next week. All right, love and light.